HMS Seraph was an S-class submarine of the British Royal Navy. She carried out a number of intelligence and special operations activities during World War II, the most famous of which was Operation Mincemeat.Seraph was one of the third batch of S-class submarines built by Vickers Armstrong at Barrow-in-Furness.She was laid down on 16 August 1940, launched on 25 October 1941 and commissioned on 27 June 1942. After going through her working-up trials, she carried out a 14-day patrol off Norway in July. On her way to the Mediterranean, she was attacked in error by an Armstrong Whitworth-Whitley bomber of the Royal Air Force at Cape Finisterre. Although she did not suffer any damage, she was afterwards assigned to the 8th Submarine Flotilla in the Mediterranean on 25 August. She found herself selected to carry out special operations duties. Of the missions she carried out, 3 stand out among the rest. Operation Flagpole. Seraph first saw action in support of Operation Torch, the Allied landings in North Africa. Her first combat mission, under the command of Lieutenant Norman Bill Jewell, was carrying out a periscope reconnaissance of the Algerian coast during the last 2 weeks of September 1942. Upon her return to Gibraltar, Seraph was assigned to Operation Flagpole, the carrying of General Dwight Eisenhower's deputy, Lieutenant General Mark W. Clark, to North Africa for secret negotiations with Vichy French officers, loaded with collapsible canoes, submachine guns, walkie-talkies, and other supplies. The submarine carried Clark, 2 other United States Army generals, United States Navy Captain Jero Wright, several other officers, and 3 British commandos. Seraph then sailed to the Algerian coast on 19 October 1942. On the night of 20 October, her passengers disembarked ashore. The operation was very important as it helped to reduce French opposition to the Torch landings. General Clark and his party were then picked up on 25 October by the submarine after some inadvertent delays. After an uneventful return journey, Seraph landed her party in Gibraltar on 25 October. Operation Kingpin, the ship with 2 captains. On 27 October, Jewell was ordered to set sail again to the coast of southern France for a secret rendezvous. Seraph was ordered to patrol up and down the coast until she received a signal giving her the name of the port from which she was to pick up her passengers. On the night of 5 November, she finally arrived at a location some 20 miles east of Toulon. As arranged, to secretly take aboard French General Henry Giraud, his son, and 3 staff officers for a meeting with Eisenhower in Gibraltar, with the intention to enlist the support of the pro-Vichy forces at Oran and Casablanca to the Allied cause. In picking up the general's party, a bit of legerdemain was needed, because Giraud flatly refused to deal with the British, and there was no U.S. boat within 3,000 miles. HMS Seraph briefly became the Seraph, flying the U.S. Navy ensign. Nominally, the sub came under the command of Captain Jero Wright, who was earlier involved in the Flagpole operation, although Jewell took care of actual operations. In the spirit of things, the British crew affected American accents that they imitated from the movies. However, it fooled nobody, including Giraud, who had been told of the deception by Wright. After the pickup, on 7 November, Seraph transferred her charges to a PBY Catalina flying boat that was sent from Gibraltar to search for her after they lost contact with the sub due to a problem with her main radio. On 24 November, Seraph sailed on her first war patrol in the Mediterranean. She was soon called upon to join other submarines in carrying U. and British commandos for reconnaissance operations in the area. On the 2nd of December 1942 she torpedoed and damaged the Italian merchant ship Puccini. Later that month, on the 23rd of December, she rammed and damaged a U-boat, sustaining sufficient damage herself to necessitate repairs and refit back to Britain. Operation Mincemeat.Seraph returned to Blyth, northern England, for a much-needed overhaul and leave on the 28th of January 1943. A few weeks later, Duell was briefed at the Admiralty on Operation Mincemeat, to be carried out during Seraph's return to the Mediterranean. This mission was part of Operation Barclay, a plan to convince the Germans that the Allies intended to land in Greece and Sardinia, and not Sicily. She set sail again on the 19th of April, carrying a special passenger. This was a corpse in a metal canister, packed in dry ice, and dressed in a Royal Marines uniform. Attached to the corpse was a briefcase containing faked, secret documents designed to mislead the Axis. In the early hours of the 30th of April, Seraph surfaced off the coast of Spain, near the port of Huelva. Duell and his officers launched the body and briefcase in the water, disposing of the canister in deeper waters. Duell then radioed the signal, "Mincemeat completed," while the submarine continued to Gibraltar. The body was picked up by the Spanish, who decided it was a courier killed in an aircraft accident. The false documents were passed to the Germans and led them to divert forces from the defense of Sicily. Other missions. By late April 1943, Seraph was back in the Mediterranean operating east of Sardinia, and on the 27th of April she fired a salvo of 3 torpedoes at a merchant ship off the Strait of Bonifacio, but was not successful. Again on the last 2 days of that month she made similar attacks, but none of these was successful, and Seraph ended up being depth-charged each time. She was not damaged during these engagements, with no lives lost. In July, during the Allied invasion of Sicily, she acted as a guide ship for the invasion force. For the remainder of 1943, the Seraph operated against German and Italian forces in the Mediterranean theater and attacked several convoys. But her performance in that area was lackluster, sinking only a few small ships. In December 1943, she sailed to Chatham for a much-needed refit, after which she operated in the eastern Atlantic and Norwegian Sea, until she carried out her final patrol in the English Channel, serving as a guide ship to the Normandy landings on the 6th of June 1944. Before her conversion as a training boat for anti-submarine warfare operations, the Admiralty had received intelligence in early 1944 about new U-boats which were reported to be able to achieve a top speed of around 16 knots underwater, compared to the 9 knots of the fastest existing U-boats. As these new XXI-class U-boats were considered to pose a major threat, Seraph was modified at Devonport as a matter of urgency to have a higher underwater speed so that trials and exercises could be carried out against a submarine having a similar underwater speed, for example in developing new tactics. The submarine was streamlined by careful attention to the attachments on the outside of the hull, the size of the bridge reduced, the gun was removed along with one of the periscopes and the radar mast, and torpedo tubes blanked over. The motors were upgraded and higher capacity batteries fitted, along with replacement of the propellers with the coarser pitch type used on the larger T-class submarines. After the war, Seraph remained in active service after the war. In 1955 she was fitted with armor plating and used as a torpedo target boat. She was attached to a squadron commanded by none other than her first skipper, now Captain Duell. Also during this time, the Seraph appeared as herself in the British film The Man Who Never Was, which details her exploits during Operation Mincemeat. Her identifying marks are visible in a number of scenes during the movie. She remained in commission until 25 October 1962, 21 years to the day after her launching, when she arrived at Britain Ferry for scrapping on 20 December 1962. Parts from her conning tower and a torpedo loading hatch were preserved as a memorial at the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina, where General Clark served as president from 1954 to 1965. This monument is the only shore installation in the United States where the Royal Navy ensign is authorized to be permanently flown by the British Admiralty. It flies alongside the U.S. flag to commemorate Anglo-American cooperation during World War II.